Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Amisid and today we are doing a build showcase for my Fire Blade Vortex Assassin. Now this is the build I've been playing since I basically cleaned house on my Cyclone character. I liked Cyclone, but I decided I wanted to do something a little more, I guess a little more meta, because I truly am a meta slave. Now if you're looking at the stats here for Ritual, I have it selected, but 14% of players above, I think 90... What it must be like, I don't think it's 99, is it? Is it 99? Or it's just 14% of players? Yeah, 14% of players, regardless. 14% of players, roughly at the top level, are playing Assassin, and if you dig a little deeper, in Blade Vortex is the most popular skill, just across characters, Blade Vortex, and then you go to Avatar of Fire, this is what I am playing. So in theory, I could be doing 184 million DPS, but my gear is not quite as good as these guys, but it is very solid. And if I pull up my POB here, you can see that my DPS all in, everything popped, is just about 38.3 million DPS, which is more than enough to do everything in the game. This is, just to clarify, this is not boss DPS. If I were to go to Cyrus, it's closer to about 20.3, which is still more than enough to do Cyrus. No issues there. So let's go ahead and walk through the tree. We'll walk through the gear. Again, this is not a build guide. This is a build showcase. I'm just showing you guys what I've been running. There's plenty of upgrades I could make, plenty of upgrades I should make, given the amount of currency that I'm sitting on. But for whatever reason, I've just been a little slow about it. It's not really a big deal to me to get another million DPS here or there. It would be nice, but it's not going to, make or break the experience. So just walking through the tree is pretty standard. This is more or less what you'll expect for any Fireblade Vortex Assassin. A little bit difference here. I just took these points down here. Probably inefficient, but whatever. I like them. I've got some pretty bad jewels. These are like 50 chaos jewels, just max life and crit multi. I'd like to get double crit multi, and I'd like to get at least one crit multi jewel that has corrupted blood on it, but so be it. I don't have it right now. It's like 10, 15x for one of those jewels with corrupted blood. It's crazy. I don't know why they're so expensive. So I've just got pretty much those across the board, just 7% max life and crit multi, a minimum of 12. In terms of my clusters, let's see. I've just got medium clusters. All my mediums are Towering Threat and Vast Power. This is relatively standard. Towering Threat, there we go, is just max life and AoE. The AoE is really nice in this build because it allows you to just become more and more of a ranged character, which, as we all know, in PoE is extremely advantageous. But it's nice, and this is more area damage and area effect per power charge, and with my helmet that I'll showcase in a second, I'm able to get up to 8 power charges, so it's a lot of power charges. This build very much relies on power charges being up, but getting them up is obviously extremely easy. You just basically go in and you're already maxed at 8. I'm using a Transcendent Flesh over here, pretty standard, to get all of that sweet crit multi, and I have a Glorious Vanity. Now, if I pull up my Glorious Vanity in game, you can actually take a look. So it's giving me Corrupted Soul's the most important node here. You really want to get that extra max energy shield. That's the main thing. It does, the 50% of non-chaos damage taken bypassing energy shield does kind of suck, but it's worth it for that extra 20% ES. And you can see I have just about 6,400 total EHP right there. And just EHP excluding obviously mitigation. So the only thing is I would like a different node here. This isn't terrible. I rolled about, I think, 20 divines, and I landed on this one, and I was like, screw it, I'll keep it here. There are better nodes. I believe there's I think there's an extra gain fizz as fire node there. But this was okay. I thought. It's giving me random stuff here. That's why my POB is going to say I'm under by 11 lightning resist. It's because of this node here. 7% spell damage is good. Cold damage is not really. Damage over time, whatever. Evasion, fire damage is. It's not a bad jewel. It's not the best jewel probably, but because this could be better, but it's not a bad jewel overall. So going into the actual gear itself, just make sure. Oh, excuse me, I forgot the large cluster jewels. Large cluster jewels are the ones I looked for were Battle Hardened, Force Multi, and Ironbreaker. I'm sure there's other variations you can do that'll work. But basically it's overwhelming physical damage reduction, physical damage, evasion, fizz, and double damage is really sweet. And again, because we're doing 100% fizz to fire, all this damage gets converted directly to fire damage. So pretty good. So going into the character itself, I prefer to look at it in game than in POB. I think POB is a little clunky. Bow is relatively standard. The real only way this could be better is if there's two ways. One is if I annulled off can have up to 3 crafted mods and slammed on like T1 crit multi or something along those lines. That would be really good. That's obviously super risky because I don't really have a way to effectively annul that off without just taking a gamble that it doesn't annul something I actually want on it. So that's not great. The other option as well is to synthesize a bow of this nature into spells have a chance to do a double damage or just a better implicit than the crit multi one. Crit multi is good in this build, obviously, so it's not bad, but getting one that does double damage would be significantly better, but they're very expensive. The bases are, really, really, really expensive, and I don't think it's worth it for me. So that's the bow. My gem setup is relatively standard here. I need a level 21 Vol Blade Vortex. I know they're like 10x, and I just haven't done it. It's like a 4 million DPS upgrade for me, so I really should just do it, considering I have about 100x roughly. But I don't know. I'm lazy. I haven't done it. So Conk Effect, again, all these gems for the most part could be better. They could all be like a level higher, except for Empower, obviously. But I do have Awakened Elemental. I need Awakened Unleash, but these are upgrades, but they're not gonna make or break the build being able to function. So I haven't done it. Okay, so rings are pretty standard. You want double Herald of Ash effect. Excuse me. You want Herald of Ash buff effect and Herald of Ash fire damage, and you LE damage. Catalyze these up. I took an implicit with Dex just because it takes some of the load off the dexterity on my other gear, but it's not. Obviously, there's much better implicits. There's some crazy implicits out there. Spell damage for amounts of power charges, whatever. But these are pretty standard. So I would say this is what you're looking for when you're looking for a ring. These cost about 5 or 6x a pop. So my helmet is a work in progress still. The only things that are 100% already on here are the max power charges, which is a huge damage increase, just getting that extra power charge, and supported skills by Unleash have +1 maximum number of seals. This is a quality of life thing. Essentially, instead of having Unleash do 3 when you click it, it does 4. It's nice. It saves mana over time. You can keep your stacks up easier. It's really quality of life though, because my mana regen really is not a problem, but still something nice to note. So helmet's work in progress. The Blade Vortex duration, again, is really nice for sustaining 10 stacks. I think it's probably better than the damage one. At least that's what I've seen across the board. People are using this one, and I agree just based on the functionality. So that's standard. You can check out my other jewels are kind of messy, but the only ones that'll matter, I'll get into my chest in a second. So this necklace, I actually bought this yesterday. It cost me 30x. I probably could use a badge, but when I'll get my frenzy charge generation comes from my frenzy charge generation comes from my chest, so maybe I'll get into that in a second. But this is a pretty good neck. I mean, it's got crit multi, T1 crit multi, max roll. It has all fizz and all dex, so that just buffs directly Blade Vortex, which is nice. I also get a sweet level 22 dash, so take that. And then the gain fizz damage as fire is really, really, really nice. So this is a nice necklace. I'm a fan, and Heart of the Flame is what I anointed, and that's found right here, Heart of Flame. So it gives you pen, leech, and fire damage. It's a good node. So I'm using the Signal Fire. That's how I get 50% of my conversion. So the other 50% comes from Avatar of Fire. So I'm getting full conversion. This could be a lot better. Believe it or not, fire damage leeches life. I actually really like this implicit. It cost about 7x to buy this, I think. The actual quiver itself is usually maybe 50 chaos or something along those lines, corrupted. But to get this implicit, it was about 7x. I would love to get a double corrupted Signal Fire with, gain fizz as fire. But those are crazy expensive, like 30, 40x, and I just don't want to plunk down for that. It feels like I have other upgrades I could make before I did that. So, but this is a standard bow, or excuse me, standard quiver that you can use on this build if you're not going to do a void battery dual wield, which has a different thing. You use a Watcher Die instead. Okay, I'm using a Headhunter. Big whoop. Gloves. So gloves are also kind of a work in progress. I have they're okay. I think these were, I want to say 10x I paid for these. They have 30% spell damage in the explicit and 16 implicit. That's really what you're looking for. I'd like to get Culling Strike on these with, an elevated Culling Strike on these would be really nice. But I'm not I don't really want to plunk down for that. That to me seems like a real cherry on top, and I don't think I need it. So I have these. They're pretty good. They have T1 life. They have. I was able to fit this craft on there, the global crit. The resistances are pretty bad. I kind of feel like I need to drop that lightning and get T1, but it'll take some of the pressure off the other gear. But I'm working on it. So the boots, in my opinion, are the worst piece of gear that I'm wearing. These have the most room for upgrade. They're basically just like tailwind 30% movement speed boots with just random other things on there. I mean, they're hard to craft on too, right? Because I can't fit any more resistances on there because I have a strength suffix that I can't get rid of. I can drop the the T6 defense mod. That's easy enough, but putting whatever I want on there is not exactly viable. They're not great. They could be a lot better. I think before I would do anything with these, I'd just buy new ones and work with them and maybe craft on those, because these are just impossible to work with as is, but they do the job. They give me tailwind, which is nice. Flask setup, pretty standard. A lot of people don't use a life flask. I do. I die too often to not use a life flask. It'd be embarrassing if I didn't have one. It'd be the first thing I did. My Quicksilver flask has removed bleed. Again, ideally I'd like a corrupted blood jewel and maybe switch this to burning, but for now I haven't done that. So this is bleed. So I have no burning mitigation right now, which is kind of annoying, but it's not the end of the world. Cinder Swallow, crit chance, this exact same one I use on my Cyclone character. Wise Oak, so it's nice actually. So the reason why I have this fire damage craft on my neck is to give me Wise Oak. So Wise Oak penetrates which your uncapped elemental resistance is the highest. So Wise Oak gives me fire resistance. Gives me Fire Pen, which is nice. And then the nice part is that because the second part is 10% reduced damage taken of each element for which your uncapped resistance is the lowest, my Cold and Lightning are both lowest and they're tied, so they're balanced. So I actually get double mitigation there. It works for both, which is nice. Ideally, I could balance all of them and get the triple mitigation, but it's not worth it. It's not worth messing to figure that out. So Bottled Faith, pretty standard. This gives a ton of damage. It's just a really nuts flask. They're not that expensive this league. I think they're maybe a few X, like 3X. I bought this when they were 5X, so I've lost money over time, but it is a really nice flask. So I highly recommend this. Goes in so many builds. Even if you're not playing this build, just get it in general. I realized I forgot to go over my chest and the gems in my chest, so let's do that. I paid 50X for this yesterday. It's not insane by any stretch of the imagination, but it gives really solid life. It gives T1 life, right? I need to re-roll that on a harvest, but it gives T1 life. It gives exploding, which to me is just the most important mod in the game. Running maps without exploding just feels so bad now. It has frenzy charge generation, so I'm pretty much able to maintain 3 frenzy charges, which is a lot of damage for this build. A lot of damage. So this would be really nice. I could use a badge of the Brotherhood in my neck instead and get up to 8 frenzy charges, but I think that I'd rather stick with this, get the option to get the crit multi. I can get the resist. It gives me a little more flexibility. Plus, I think that this is just a strong neck in general. It's more all-purpose. So it has that. It says the resists are not great. I really need to get these up to T1. Again, take some of the pressure off my other gear to provide resistances, but very solid chest piece. 50X I felt was a little steep, but honestly, that's what they're going for. So it is what it is. So the one thing to really note here, this is my curse chest. So I have an Awakened Hex Touch support that allows me to apply an additional curse. So that's why I'm able to have flammability and elemental weakness socketed in here, and it applies them both. That I just got this setup the other day, and it was about a 7 million DPS increase to get the double curse. Really big difference. So, and this was about 25x for this jewel alone. Not cheap, but definitely worth it. So I applied that with Orb of Storms, and that is pretty much it. I think. Am I forgetting anything? Did I forget anything important? I mean, these other jewels are not that important. They're just, I have a Wave of Conviction, cast on damage taken. I have a nice little portal jewel. I've got Herald of Ash. Nothing too insane here. I think that's it. So this was my build. Again, I appreciate everyone who provides feedback. I'm not necessarily posting this looking for feedback, although I do appreciate everyone bringing these things up. I just post it because people ask, and I just want to show what I've been using to run maps. This is, without question, by the way, the strongest mapping character I've ever had. Even stronger than my Aura Stacker. It's faster, it's cleaner, you blitz maps with this character. Bossing just feels a little weak. It's a little bit flimsy, I feel. You can't really tank much, but the DPS outweighs that to some degree, where you can just get bosses down really fast. So anyway, that's my build. I hope you guys like it, and I will catch you guys in the next one.